You know how you hear those stories, lost pirate treasure, maybe gold buried somewhere?
Sure, everyone loves those tales.
Well, imagine something maybe even more fascinating. A lost artifact tied right into the founding of America and Freemasonry,
Okay, intriguing.
specifically connected to George Washington himself,
Welcome to the deep dive.
where we unpack these historical threads.
Exactly. We dig into the sources, see what insights we can find. And today, we're diving into research from Robert Burns Lodge number 59.
And the focus is this really quite rare brass medallion from 1797.
Right. It's got Washington's portrait, but it's not just any portrait medal.
No, this is specifically the George Washington General Grand Master Masonic Medal.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to really get a handle on what this thing means.
Yeah, as a historical object, sure, but also what it tells us about Washington and early American Freemasonry.
It's such a tangible link, isn't it? The source describes it really well, brass, about 36 millimeters across. Roughly, yeah, maybe like a $50 coin, give or take, but probably a bit thicker.
And the weight, 258.4 grains, which I gather is pretty hefty for a metal like this.
It is, yeah. And the condition sounds, well, amazing.
Described as spectacular. Smooth, glossy surfaces, hints of the original gold color still there. Like a honey
And
tin.
it really suggests it's been, looked after, handled carefully over the centuries.
You could really tell the quality of the work, too.
Absolutely. The source mentions the high-relief Washington's portrait really stands out.
And that was done by striking it twice.
Apparently so. Striking the die onto the metal blank 2 times? That takes effort, shows intention.
Makes sense. There's apparently a little bit of doubling on the back, the reverse, and maybe some softness at the very edge.
Minor things, yeah. But the key parts, like the sun and moon symbols on the back, still incredibly sharp, crisp details.
It's funny, the source also points out tiny imperfections, things that actually authenticate it, you know?
Like what?
Like faint file marks from before it was struck, a tiny little pit above the H in Washington.
Like little fingerprints of the process.
Exactly. And a horizontal die crack across Washington's chin. Even a little raised bump near the date, maybe from damage to the die itself.
Right. And those aren't really flaws in a negative sense. They tell a story.
Yeah, they help confirm its age and how it was made, part of its history.
Precisely. These little details that give us clues about 18th century production and the fact it survived so well.
It really does suggest it was seen as special right from the start. Someone cherished this piece.
Seems very likely.
Okay, so let's picture it. The obverse, you've got this dignified portrait of Washington.
And the inscription, Washington President. Very direct.
But then you flip it over, and that's where the Masonic connection really jumps out.
Yeah, the reverse is loaded with symbols, the square and compass, obviously, pillars.
The all-seeing eye, the sun, the moon, instantly recognizable Masonic imagery.
And crucially, right at the bottom, those initials, GWGGM.
Right. What do those stand for again?
George Washington, General Grand Master.
Ah, okay. So for a Mason back then, seeing those symbols and those initials.
It would have been an immediate, very powerful statement. Washington, the Mason, potentially heading the whole fraternity in America, it's bold.
And this was made in 1797, just as he's leaving office.
Exactly. End of his presidency. And the timing isn't accidental.
So why then? Was it commemorative?
It had a specific purpose. It was essentially promotional. Campaign material, almost.
Campaign material for what?
To build support for electing Washington as the General Grand Master of Masons for all of America.
Wow. So this was tied to an actual movement.
Yes, a push to create one single unified Grand Lodge for the entire country, a national Masonic body.
Which didn't happen, right?
No, ultimately that effort failed. The structure that developed and that exists today is independent, sovereign Grand Lodges in each state.
So this medal, it's kind of a snapshot of a possible future that never came to be.
That's a great way to put it. A physical reminder of an alternative history for American Freemasonry. A road not taken.
That definitely adds another layer to it.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned it's rare. Just how rare are we talking?
Extremely rare. The source really emphasizes this. Only a handful exist. Very few collectors could ever realistically own one. It's top-tier stuff.
Okay. And most are brass, like this one.
Yes, the majority known are brass. But there are variations, which adds to the intrigue.
Ooh. Like what?
Well, there's one confirmed silver example. It has a decorated edge, what they call an engrailed edge.
Just one.
Just one confirmed. And then there's this ghost. A mention in old records of another silver one, but with a plain edge. Hasn't been seen since 1882.
Lost to time, maybe. Wow.
Could be. And then you have things like pieces struck only on one side, unifice strikes, and some unique trial pieces in white metal.
So lots of little variations for the specialist, but the one we're focusing on, the brass one from the source.
That one is apparently unique because it's the only known example, brass or otherwise, with a plain edge.
So not just rare, but a unique variety of a rare piece.
Exactly. And its condition, as we said, is exceptional. The source suggests it's probably among the best preserved ones known. Better than previously thought.
How many are even out there, roughly?
The source estimates maybe 7 brass examples in private hands, plus that one silver one. Institutions have a few, but apparently most of those are quite worn.
So this one really is special. Its history, its provenance. That must be interesting, too.
Oh, definitely. It adds to the allure. This specific metal has passed through some very well-known hands.
Like who?
The list starts back in 1890 with the Robert Colton Davis collection, then names like Ralph Barker, Henry Jewett, W.W.C. Wilson.
These are big names in collecting circles, I take it.
Very much so. But after Wilson's collection was sold in 1925, poof.
Poof, it vanished.
Pretty much. Disappeared from public view for almost 100 years.
A century. Where could it have been?
Who knows? Tucked away somewhere, maybe forgotten in a drawer. Then, amazingly, it turns up at an estate sale in New England in 2021.
That's incredible. Like something out of a movie.
It really is. And the source also mentions there was some confusion historically, mixing its history up with another similar metal, the Stickney specimen, just adds to the complexity.
So this long journey naturally makes you wonder who actually made it back in 1797.
Ah, the attribution question. That's another fascinating part of the story.
Is there a traditional suspect?
Yeah, traditionally it's often been linked to a guy named Peter Getz. He was a silversmith known for making some Washington portrait patterns back in 1792.
And the portrait looks similar.
There are definite similarities in style, yes, but also some differences. It's not a slam dunk.
So is there another theory?
There is, and it's based on some pretty compelling evidence. A manuscript inventory.
An inventory from when?
Dated August 29th, 1797. It lists coining equipment.
Okay.
And specifically mentions 2 dies of General Washington heads and 1 die of the face mason's coat of arms.
Whoa, that sounds extremely relevant, like the dies used for this metal.
It certainly seems highly probable, doesn't it? And the inventory is linked to Richard Harper.
Harper. Does that name ring a bell?
His father was John Harper, who's known for being involved with striking the early Jefferson head cents.
Ah, so a connection to early coin minting.
Exactly. It suggests that maybe John Harper, while possibly not the guy who engraved the dies,
He might have been the one who actually struck the metals, using the dies.
that's the theory. It makes a lot of sense. The engraver might still have been Getz, or maybe someone else we don't know. It could have been a collaboration.
That really connects it to the whole world of early American money production, too.
Fascinating. Now, stepping back a bit, this wasn't the very first medal honoring Washington, was it?
Oh, no, definitely not. There were others. The source mentions the Voltaire medal made over in Paris and the Manly medals from 1790.
Right. So what makes this 1797 Masonic one stand out?
I think it's the focus.
Yep.
As the source puts it really nicely, this medal perhaps uniquely captures the personal Washington, the man, the Mason. So less about the general or the president and more about him as an individual, as a member of the fraternity.
Exactly. It zeroes in on that specific aspect of his identity, his Masonic affiliation.
And we know his involvement with Freemasonry was pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely. Well documented. He was initiated way back in 1752, stayed involved.
Didn't he participate in laying the cornerstone of the U.S. Capitol in a Masonic ceremony?
He did, yes. That's a famous example. So this medal, coming right at the end of his public life, really feels like like the source says, a physical link to this dual legacy.
The public figure and the private affiliation brought together in one object.
Precisely.
So thinking about today, what's the lasting importance of this medal?
Well, for collectors, obviously, it's an incredible prize, a tangible link to Washington, to early America, to early Freemasonry, extremely desirable.
And for Masons themselves.
It must be a really powerful connection, a link to a very distinguished brother, right back to the roots of the craft in the United States, a piece of their heritage.
And, for the rest of us, just interested observers.
I think its reappearance after being lost for so long is just a great story in itself.
Yeah, it reminds you that history isn't static. Things can be rediscovered.
Exactly. These objects, they carry stories not just about what happened, but maybe about what could have happened, like that whole general Grand Lodge idea.
And the connections between big historical figures and their, personal lives and groups they belong to.
Absolutely. Which leads to a kind of final thought for you, the listener.
Hmm.
What other stories are still out there, hidden inside objects? What other artifacts might shift our understanding, or reveal forgotten connections, or hint at different paths history could have taken?
Makes you wonder what else is waiting in an attic or an old box somewhere, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Maybe the most interesting history is still waiting to be found.